Hey guys, Rygo here. Recently I was asked to review the 2019 Duotone lineup, so I've been logging my hours on the water and doing my homework on the kites. Today, we're reviewing the 2019 Duotone Rebel. The kiteboarding kite that's been around forever, pretty much has a cult following, and the last year was completely redesigned. Purists lost their minds. New riders loved it, and everyone else is still trying to sort it out. We've had this kite for a while now, and we've been testing. So do the new changes actually make for a better kite? Does the new Rebel actually have the classic Rebel feel? And the big question, how does the new Rebel stack up? By now, you know to click the eye icon in the upper right hand corner of your screen. This will open a new tab with a full written review, and later on we'll also include some comparison videos between the Rebel and the Dice. So when you're looking for the best person to do a particular job, do you go for a jack of all trades or the specialist? Well, usually you would go for the specialist, and this is the case with the Rebel. It is, however, one of the most unique feeling big air freeride kites I've tested to date. And most kites make certain trade-offs for different characteristics. The Rebel, however, does not make any of these classic trade-offs, making for a fast, stable, user-friendly, explosive, controlled kite with plenty of hang time. And while many kites have these traits, they're almost never paired together. And that's not to say that there are no trade-offs, but we'll get to those later in this review. So let's start with the wind range. Now, no other kite in Duotone's lineup can touch the Rebel on this point. In fact, the closest contenders would be the Evo or the Cabrina Switchblade from the Cabrina lineup. So when testing the newest Rebel, I had two sizes for comparison, a 14 meter and a 10 meter. First up, I gave the 14 meter a try at the top of his wind range in about 21 plus knots. To say the Rebel is a powerful yet controlled jumper would be an understatement. Even on a flat board like the Team Series, I found it easy to control my edge and there was no skipping. So something the Purists have always loved about the Rebel is its grab you by the back of the neck and toss you up feel. On the high end, the 2018 and 19 main that feel, albeit it's not as raw. So this is great news for newer riders, and riding on the high end is actually a good hack if that's an aspect that you've always loved about the Rebel. Now, on the bottom end, I switched up to the 10 meter. This kite rocked upwind just as easy as the 14 meter, and the jumps were still fun. On the bottom end, you can expect the Rebel to feel more like a standard freeride kite, still fun, still powerful, but somehow grunty without feeling overbearing. At 165 pounds, either kite would have been a fun choice. And this is hands down one of the best features on the Rebel. You'd have to try really hard to pick the wrong size on this kite. So next up, let's talk about the bar pressure and feel. Now the big question here is, will the new Rebel 2018 and 2019 feel like the classic Rebel? And the answer is, sorta, but no. So just to give you a little history, the classic Rebel was known for its loaded fifth line feel. It was characterized by a crisp feel in the bar paired with a shorter D-power stroke, making for fast and easy D-power with minimal sheeting. The kite was also ridiculously stable and had a very easy relaunch in light winds. So what do I mean by the new Rebel sorta feels like the classic Rebel? Well, let's start with the obvious. The kite is still ridiculously stable, and while the fifth line's not loaded, you can use the fifth line for the easy relaunch. So what about the crisp feel and shorter D-power stroke? Well, here's where you're going to notice a few differences. The throw is not quite as short, and it does feel a bit different. If you've used every iteration of the Rebel, you're probably going to notice these differences, and some may like it, some may not. The good news is, the Rebel has two frontline pigtail attachments. One can be used with older bars. Now, you can set the kite up for a semi-loaded feel, and it's not going to feel like the original, but it does make for a more familiar feel, and I suspect Duotone wants to keep the purists happy. If I had to sum up my experience with the Rebel, I would say it was powerful and controlled, yet somehow raw at the same time. It's a really unique blend of characteristics that makes for a forgiving kite, yet leaves a lot in the experienced rider's hands. The faster turning speed of the 2019 model makes a difference, and it is a good pairing with this unique kite. It's not quite as raw as a traditional 5-line Rebel, but in this case, I find the change to be good. And on that note, our videos on this channel have always been an open forum. So if you are a Rebel rider and you've tested the new Rebel, please leave a comment. Let us know your experience, the good, the bad, and just give us some insights to help out other riders who are researching this kite. So what about jumping? Now I've already addressed this point just a little bit regarding the wind range, but I wanted to elaborate further as it really is something that stands out on the Rebel. We mentioned how the original Rebel had a crisp feel when it comes to jumping, and that's still the only word that comes to mind, especially when you're flying the kite on the high end. And a unique point of this kite is the explosive feel in the jumps, and there are plenty of kites that are explosive. The Dice comes to mind. That said, most, if not all kites with an explosive feel come at the cost of the ease of use and the wind range. Not only that, but they often require a more advanced rider. The Rebel, however, does not require rider feedback, and while the jumps are explosive, the hang time is ridiculously good. somehow it bypasses all of these traditional trade-offs for the explosive, powerful stuff. So when it comes to jumping, you can expect powerful vertical jumps and a fast takeoff. You're probably going to get more hang time than you're used to, and unless you really make a point to pull hard on your front hand and dive that kite, you're going to spend more time in the air than you would expect. On the low end, the kite has plenty of grunt, and it does stand up to its name by jumping effortlessly. So some kites require a bit more work to build up speed and jump on the bottom end of their wind range. This is not the case with the Rebel. Jumping does take on some different characteristics when underpowered. The good news, you won't feel underpowered. The bad, you will lose that raw, powerful feel, and the kite will start to feel more akin to what a standard, more damp, all-around freeride kite might feel like. So when it comes to jumping, the Rebel really does have some unique traits that make it stand out in this particular category. So what about the waves? So as I mentioned, the Rebel is a specialist, so when it comes to the waves, it gets the job done, and for your average rider, I would say good enough. Now, for advanced riders, you'll really want to be on the Evo, the Dice, or the Neo. If the waves are your main game, every brand has a lineup that spans all the disciplines. And I've done a number of videos now talking about how most kites are in fact all-around kites, and they do it all quite well. And this is one of the few cases where that does not hold to be true depending on your ability level. The Rebel really is a specialist. It's one of the most refined and advanced freeride kites I've tested to date. It's the best jumper, the easiest jumper, the largest wind range in Duotone's lineup, and while it does work in the waves, it wouldn't be my first choice. So to reiterate, I'm not saying the Rebel wouldn't work in the waves, not at all. It's simply just not the specialist's strongest point. So what about unhooked freestyle? Now, chances are if you're a Rebel rider, you could care less about this. I thought I'd mention it anyway, as this is another point where you'll want to be on the Evo, the Dice, or the Vegas. Will the Rebel work? Yeah, but it's not exceptional. The Rebel really isn't designed to be flown unhooked like the rest of the lineup. So while you can do it, it is easier to backstyle the kite when you load it unhooked. And while this is the best jumping kite I've tested to date, this does seem to be an area where Duotone has traded off for superior performance in hooked and jumps. So what about the stability? Now we also touched on stability regarding the wind range, but it's another point that I wanted to elaborate on here. Hands down, the Rebel is one of the most stable kites I've tested. Now I don't want to diminish this point. We often talk about how many modern kites are stable. For example, three-stroke kites have come a very long way in terms of stability. Well, the Rebel takes that up a notch or two. Next to its unique feel and superior jumping, the stability is a major plus. You can expect a feeling of security in some pretty awful conditions, and even if the wind picks up during your session, you can expect a controlled feeling ride. For example, on our local beaches here, south winds tend to be warm, gentle, and consistent. And conversely, when the winds come out of the north, they travel over the land a bit, so they're colder, more dense, and gusty. In conditions like this, the Rebel would absolutely shine. So what makes this kite really shine is stability like this often comes at a cost. So kites that tend to be more stable also tend to be more damp, less raw, and less crisp. In fact, it kind of goes hand in hand. The less reactive and responsive the kite is, the more stable the kite will become, and a large part of that is because of that more damp feel. However, with the Rebel, somehow it maintains stability and control, yet keeps this really crisp, raw, connected, powerful feel that's pretty hard to articulate unless you feel it. And this is really unique to the kite, and something I've not experienced on any other kite to date. So what about kite loops? Well, this is a point I've not personally tested myself, but if you click the eye icon, I will include some information from some of the Matt Kite crew and what I could dig up from the forums. If you are a Rebel rider yourself, chime in, leave some comments, and help out other riders who are interested in the looping characteristics of the Rebel. So in summary, of all the kites that I've tested to date, no other kite quite has the unique blend of characteristics that the Rebel does. It's an interesting blend of an amazing wind range, explosive jumps, great hang time, and ease of use. And what I mean here is often kites that turn fast, they lack low end. Kites that have a crisp raw feel lack low end power, or just simply not as user friendly. They demand a higher level rider. Kites that match the Rebel stability are often more damp or more delayed. So somehow you get all of these perks without the traditional trade-offs. In fact, the only real trade-off here is the Rebel does not boast all-around kite status like the Evo or the Dice. So if waves or unhooked freestyle are on your radar, every other kite is going to outperform it. On the flip side, no other kite can touch the Rebel when it comes to the unique experience you'll find on the water. So hey guys, I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. And again, if you've ridden the Rebel and you have some feedback for us and feedback for the other viewers researching this kite, leave a comment and let us know your thoughts. Thanks for watching, this has been Rygo, and I'll catch you next time.